Oh, this is like a third part video. Nice little shot of the museum, RAF Museum and Graham Parkway, and the first bit of that relates to Claude Graham White, the man who founded the aerodrome that was on this site. And if you're looking at here, this would have all been the aerodrome from this view, and around would have been an expanse of grass. This is not an original hangar. It was originally built and opened in 1978 as the Battle of Britain Hall, where they had displays of aircraft related to the Battle of Britain, and it is now Hangar 1, I think, where you come into the RAF Museum and there's a shop and there's a history of the RAF in a brief form for a sort of pint condensed down version. And then you do a tour of the RAF Museum in various sections to see various aspects. I mean, to be honest with you, they keep changing it, so I can really tell you exactly which bit is what now. But yeah, this building has been reclad. It was reclad about, oh god, I suppose it must be about 10 years ago. The centenary with the First World War, I think, was when they were doing a lot of this work, so it reopened. So that's only 7 years ago. And another example of things just not being looked after, so all this sort of green sort of stuff off the trees. Should be a shiny building, it was when it was put up, but yet again we have a terrible regard for our built heritage even when it's not that old. So I don't know whether I'm allowed to film on the site. I can't see why not. But I'm not going to film inside the museum because that's boring and you can come and see it for yourself. But there's the entrance. This is now the main pedestrian entrance, and the sort of entrance for vehicles is a bit further along. It used to be the main entrance over there, but not anymore. It's safer walking in this way. So here, I always love this bit. This piece of grass here, and the little bits dotted over in that direction. But if you want to have some kind of touch with the past, with this being an aerodrome, this about is as close as you're going to get, because this is a rough bit of grass, and this bit of rough grass, or something akin to it, is what you would have had before this was even an aerodrome, because this area of land all across here and around, as far as you can see, was in fact dairy pasture for cows. This is a really good place to do a bit of filming because there's nobody about, well, not much anyway. This is a plastic Spitfire, it's not a real one, it's a recreation, because you couldn't have a real Spitfire here because it would be vandalised. Again, not kept clean, but hey ho. This banking is being put here to put a barrier between this area and the car park, which is over there. This is the old 1972 RAF Museum that was opened in November 1972. Over there that was called Milestones or of Flight or something. It was opened up in the year 1999, 2000. So yeah, they were going to put this great big tower in at one point that was going to have aircraft inside it going down. It's the most unbelievable thing, and I'm glad they didn't build it. It was going to be like a beacon. So over in the distance there is a hurricane, a plastic hurricane. So like a gate guardian. So yes, going back to this really is what here would have been like in 1908-9, when a gentleman called Hendon Aerodrome, if that's right, I mean I can never remember, because Everett and Edgecombe were the partners in a business that were on Colin Deep Lane not far away, but those two actually had a shed built over in that direction, and they built their own aircraft, which was given the colloquial name of the grasshopper, because it never actually made it into the air very far, so it hopped along the grass. But yeah, this is sort of, I always think this is particularly poetic, this bit of grass, or any bit of grass that was on the RAF Museum site, because this is back to how it was. Not much of it, but this is, as if you want real history, it's sort of here. All we needed some cows, and we got it complete. But it's changed massively in the space of that time. So 1908 and 9 is when Edgecombe, Everett and Edgecombe have their aircraft put together, and then 1909 I think Claude Graham-White comes onto the site with his aircraft, which I think he brings over in crates, or he lands, I don't know, I can never actually pin that one down. And then in 1910 we have Henri Paulhan, the great pioneer aviator who uses the London flying grounds, that were called at that point, to launch his attempts on the London to Manchester air race, sponsored by the Daily Mail newspaper. And then about the same time, later that year, 1910, Claude Graham-White decides that he's going to actually invest in this site and turn it into the London Aerodrome. So this was the London Aerodrome, and it would have been, if the First World War hadn't happened and Claude Graham-White had had his way, this would have actually potentially have been the first airport predating Croydon. So yeah, there would have been flights coming out of here to Paris, maybe further afield, but of course its role as an aerodrome sort of finished certainly by 1957. But once the area had built up in the interwar period in the 1920s and 30s with housing and factories, it ceased to really be somewhere where you could expand, and so Croydon took over that role. Intermediary period, there was actually Cricklewood Aerodrome, which was used by Handley Page, and in fact flights went out of Cricklewood to the continent from there. But yeah, Hendon, really its role as anything to do with being a civilian aerodrome finished when the war started in 1914, and Claude Graham-White effectively relinquished control of it. It's quite a sad story, really, but you can wipe your tears. So yes, this is the way into the museum now, and I'm going to pop in there and have a look at the shop. Over in the distance there are some old buildings which are in their original site. They were put up for the RAF in the 1920s and 30s. And inside that building over there, the 1972 RAF Museum, the guts of that are in fact two 1918 Belfast hangars. They are called Belfast hangars because they have what is called a Belfast truss that supports the roof. And then when they decided to build the RAF Museum in the 60s, they decided it'd be a jolly good idea to keep those in place so they could have them as hangars, and they built all this stuff on the outside, which I don't think they would do now, but you know, it was the 60s, so crazy ideas. So I'm sorry if this video, I can't do apologising my videos, I don't know why I should, but it's not the most thrilling visually, but it's me rambling on with the occasional sort of, see if I can zoom in over in the distance there where I'm pointing down. That is where the archive is, I think, but it's where the offices are for the RAF Museum, and I've been in that archive many years ago. Right, well, thank you for watching, and we'll just finish with a rather poetic shot of the Spitfire as it comes in to strafe the visitors coming into the RAF Museum, and or land without its undercarriage. Lovely. Thanks for watching.